You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Hello there. This is General Grievous, and you are watching the Cantina Club.
Everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cantina Club. This is going to be episode 4 of the Book of Boba Fett recap, and we'll get into it right after this.
We all know around here, Solo always does shots first. Sing it, y'all know, raise your glass, and sing, y'all know, sing, y'all know.
The graphics are covering us up at this point.
Cantina Club.
What kind of shots do you think Solo does?
I think he does Rodian shots. And now Rodian. That's his favorite. That's his favorite brand. Yeah, Rodian.
Avocado vodka.
Avocado vodka. Exactly. All right, guys, we're back. We're going to get into a recap here of episode 4, season 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. So we'll start like we usually do, just general thoughts, overall take from this episode. And I'm going to throw it to Greedo first. What did you think, man?
I may need that recap. We're a little late getting to this discussion.
Yeah, we had some schedule conflicts this week.
I had a lot to say when I watched it.
Right.
I think I already texted you most of what I had to say.
Well, I'll give my take, and then you can base it off that. That'll probably spur your memory. All right, so for me, basically, I enjoyed the wrap up of the flashbacks. It looks like we're done with the flashbacks at this point, because basically we see now through the flashbacks how Boba gets his ship back. He finds Finnick. Yeah, we have that tie-in with the Mandalorian. That piece is connected now. And then we see how he gets his ship back, and all the stuff he does with Slave One once he actually gets it. The revenge he gets, which I thought was pretty darn cool. Overall, I love this episode. As far as the current timeline, I love the fact that we're moving forward on that. We basically just got a little bit more establishment of Black Chrysanthemum. So we figured out that we haven't seen the last of Black Chrysanthemum. He was in the bar run by Jessica Biel's character, or Jessica Biel's. What is her name? The actress. Jennifer Beals. No, not Jessica Biel's.
It's one of the Beals.
One of the Beals. So anyway, so we get a scene with Black Chrysanthemum in there, and we'll get into it in the recap. But he basically throws down with some Trandoshans, and then eventually Boba hires him. So I do like the fact that we've got him as part of this moving forward, and we finally get the scene of the sort of the banquet, or the basically the meeting of the heads of the crime families around Tatooine, and that's basically what leads us into the end of the episode. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. It was much better than last week. I thought it was a nice few steps up from that. Definitely setting the table for what looks to come in the final 3 episodes, because as you know, we're down to 3 episodes now, 5, 6, and 7 coming soon.
2. I thought there was 6 episodes, but that's cool.
No, there's 7 episodes. Yeah,
maybe 7 will be like an hour and a half long or something.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway,
I don't know what they're going to do in it at this point.
Yeah, well, I've got a few ideas. So what was your overall take on this episode?
I thought it was solid. I didn't love it, but I thought it was solid. I thought the imagery of returning to the Sarlacc pit that was in this episode, right?
Yes,
was pretty cool. And I know it was there's a lot of prequel lovers that love the seismic charge for whatever reason. It's become like its own, has its own fan base.
It really does, yeah.
You have to do a series on the guy who created the seismic charge or whatever, and all the family challenges he had to go through to create the seismic charge.
That was awesome.
It's like, my father always wanted to complete the seismic charge. Could never get the sound just right.
I finally completed his life's work.
Banging enough. But yes. But anyway, regardless of that spinoff, that was my favorite part. Possibly was the imagery of being over the Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the character of Boba Fett is the only thing that I'm going back and forth on here because this is the Book of Boba Fett, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he is our point of view,
mm-hmm.
and they kind of are all over the place with him as far as I still don't feel a solid grasp of which Boba Fett we're going to get. Is it the guy that shows up and just blasts the hell out of Bib Fortuna on the throne?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorite scenes too, was the last flashback where it ended with that. And I felt like I was back where I was supposed to be. When I see Boba raising that rifle and just executing someone, I'm like, this is correct. And then we get him coming out and we're instantly back to the negotiating Boba Fett.
Right, back to negotiating, talking Boba Fett. Yeah.
And in this episode, I felt like he did a lot of things that if I wasn't giving him a break, or if he wasn't, I would call these things stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you going back to the Sarlacc pit, in this way, and hovering your ship that you just got back over it and going right down in its face? I mean, these Imperial ships and stuff can scan a planet. Why can't you really have to get visually inspect the maw?
Right, you actually have to look inside of it. Yeah,
right. And it also goes down and around. I mean, are you really going to find it in just looking straight down? And
exactly.
And then of course it begs the question, like, how come he had that vision in the desert where he saw the Jawas take his armor?
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the desert where the lizard showed him the Jawas took his armor. So this seems like an oversight of the people.
It does.
Editing this thing together.
I thought that as well. When the writers came up with this, it's like no one checked on this. It's like, hey, wait a minute. He already knows he didn't have his armor. He already knows he made it out with the armor on.
We assume he crawled out and lost his memory until the Tuskens got him and they gave him that stuff in his mouth or whatever to revive him.
Sure.
We were shown that in the flashback with a lizard spiritual guide. Why are we being shown these things if he's not being shown them?
Yeah,
we have to assume this is what he's seeing.
Sure.
Otherwise, there's no significance to it. So that was a weird kind of. I almost like they just didn't catch that or something.
I think so. It seemed like there was no oversight there.
Yeah, I mean, why? I think that was just a cool excuse for. We just really want the what is it? Fire spray. I was about to say slave one.
The slave one.
The indentured servant. The indentured servant.
Exactly.
We really want the indentured servant, the respected indentured servant. To go, confront the Sarlacc, and that was a cool little sequence. The graphic was awesome. I do like when they go back to making things in Star Wars big and kind of fearsome and stuff, and bringing us back to monsters and aliens. But again, with this show, I feel like we're seeing the final. Like, this is it for the Sarlacc. No more Sarlacc.
No more Sarlacc, yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, it's too much, really. I mean, it was cool. Star Wars should be moving on to the next Sarlacc, not going back and hovering over the last one over and over again. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess this is a way to say, sayonara to the Sarlacc or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, that was probably my favorite scene because, but again, there's a trend here of Boba Fett doing things that are questionable.
Mm-hmm.
And in another circumstance, I would almost call them stupid. And then Fennec Shand bailing him out. And again, we see, Boba didn't handle that situation. He kind of just uselessly sat there. And then when she bailed him out, he said, "Don't touch my buttons."
Don't touch my buttons
which,
again.
Which was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was a funny comment. Yeah,
it was funny, but it was kind of another part for the course of the humor in the show.
Yeah, agreed.
A little bit off. It's just for one, it's not hilarious. It's just not. It's adjustment and jarring seeing Boba as a humorous guy.
Yeah,
I consider his humor to be more. Hey, you might be lucky, and this might be the last clone voice you ever hear.
Yeah,
I consider that to be Boba Fett's humor,
right. Exactly.
not don't touch my
Yeah,
buttons.
definitely definitely a darker humor, I expect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I get. The last time someone touched his buttons, he fired off into the Sarlacc, hit his head.
Right.
But but there's a thing here that they are relentless about. Almost. I mean, Boba Fett has had his scenes. He's had his scenes where he's been a badass, but
Yeah.
they're very intent to diffuse him and let Finnick. They're like, what can we give Finnick in this scene? What can Finnick do in this scene? And one thing Finnick isn't doing is showing us anything else about herself. I would rather know something about Finnick, a little bit of her backstory, a hint of what she wants, some kind of humanity and less robot-ness to her, than just her after again and again and again being the one to kind of come up with the little solution in the panic room or whatever. Like everybody's running around with their hair on fire in the panic room. We got 5 seconds left, and Finnick Shan's like, "Oh, come on, it's this."
It's this right here. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but I almost think we're more likely to get backstory on Finnick in like the Bad Batch. I almost feel like it's more likely they're going to show a backstory on her there than they are on Book of Boba Fett.
But I just think it's a shame because this actress is good.
Ming-Na Wen is fantastic.
Yeah, and I watched her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she can do a lot with a little, and with silly comic book material. And I like that they're keeping her consistent and everything.
Yeah,
I love her character, but there was moments where, like when they were around the campfire, I didn't want this to become like a big, these characters are stoic; they don't have to explain everything. Yeah, but I wanted just something, and I get they're keeping it a mystery. She said, "I'm along for the ride," and you can write in your own stuff, but. I guess I'm impatient. I want to see a little more of her featured as not just the person, figuring out the puzzle and doing a little bit of action thing and bailing them out. Yeah. And it also, like I said, it just takes the action out of Boba Fett's hands and puts it in hers. Now, maybe something was going on during the filming where they just couldn't give a lot of action scenes to Tamara Morrison. I don't know. And
yeah, I don't know.
They both have helmets though. They can use stunt doubles at any time.
Sure.
So I'm just not really sure about that. And the way he keeps making questionable decisions and with no explanation, really, it's almost to the point of being reckless and dumb. And then other times he's really cautious and almost seems to have a plan. They really needed to think this through better and give us some wins for Boba Fett himself. Like, show him, if he's going to be the smart guy, if he's going to use strategy, he should have already used some. He should have shown us that.
You're right.
Established this as a character trait pretty much immediately. Instead, he's used durability and brute force, pretty much is what he's used. He hasn't, I haven't seen him be super clever. He did come up with the plan to hijack the train. But it was almost like, I don't know, that plan probably would have failed without the female Tusken and the, it just wasn't super clever. It was resourceful. Yeah. But if he's going to be the guy who's manipulating people and making things happen and not the direct action guy, I want to see him strategizing and being clever and using elements against each other and stuff. Right. And so far,
we're not getting that.
We're not getting that. He's more of a dad jokes. We were joking about that.
Yeah, we were talking about that over the week. Yeah, that it's like, he's become a dad joke guy.
Yeah, don't ask him to fix the roof of Jabba's palace because it'll leak.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll get to it in 5 years and it'll leak.
And then it'll leak. Yeah. Yeah. And then even, spoiler alert, we're talking about one of the last scenes here. Even the big motivation for what we're looking at going to get for the final part of the season, moving forward, him building basically more of an army for this upcoming war they keep talking about. Even that was her idea. That was even that was like, hey, you got plenty of money, right? Yeah, well then money buys loyalty, and she's basically, it's almost like she's pushing him like, come on, you can do this, you can do this, you can figure it out, because he's kind of like, well, we don't have anybody to fight this war, but we'll be ready, like you said last week, we'll be prepared.
Why do you call a meeting of all these families and they are the only forces you have available, and the only plan seems to be to unite them? And then just immediately let them off the hook and say, I'll handle this on my own. You guys just don't betray me. Let them leave and then reveal, oh, well, I really don't have a plan.
I don't have a plan. Yeah.
It's like, so why? It seemed like you came into that meeting ready to say, I'm going to handle this. And he didn't even make a deal there. Like, no. I would have expected him to say, if I win this and you guys sit this out,
Yeah.
I want 50%.
That's what I kept expecting for that to happen, and it never did. That really perplexed me.
Take
Yeah.
any risk up front, but afterwards you're going to owe me for my investment.
If you're not taking the risk and I'm the only one taking the risk, then I get the bigger cut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Maybe the whole idea is that once he does this, there's nothing they can do anyway.
Right.
You know, they're just going to bow to him at that point because he's going to be.
He may not have a choice at that point,
and he's going to have built the army. But there was no shrewdness to it. It was, I don't know what is he trying? And he was also talking about these invaders of our planet and stuff. It's like, is it your planet?
That's my thing. Yeah. How is it your planet? Yeah. You've been there 5 years.
How is it their planet? Are they native here? Is it just they seem like interlopers too? I don't. And how is the spice affecting the planet, and how is it affecting the population? I mean, we saw the Nikto guards beating up moisture farmers, but if moisture farmers are an analog for Western expansion, I mean, is it their planet too? You know what I mean? It seems like it's whoever can take the planet.
I mean, I think that's kind of what he meant by our planet, meaning like we're the ones running things. You know, not like, oh, I was born here, this is my home. Just saying this is our planet. You know, meaning
I want to know why
we run this. Nobody else can. The Pikes can't come in here and start running stuff. We got to run it. Why are the
Pikes worse than these guys? These guys even admitted we make a shit ton of money credits off spice, so they're selling spice, or they're letting people sell spice. So they're no better. So what is it about the Pikes that we're saying it's going to be good to get rid of them, other than it's just good for these people for business? I mean, you know, because it seemed like I just didn't understand that statement. You know, these invaders on our planet that are bringing, they want to ruin this planet or own this planet, whatever he said. You know, take all our resources. Why? How is that bad? There's been no real, you know, like if the Pikes came in and started just kicking people on the floor, like the people of Mos Espa came up to them and said, "Sir, can we help you?" And get out of our way. You know, just shooting people,
but they're not doing that.
Yeah, because they're racist or they're you know they're Pike superior or whatever, you know, and they want to enslave people,
and they won't cut anybody else in on the action, which clearly they are cutting people in on the action, because the Trandoshans are blatantly saying we make a lot of money off of this.
Yeah, there's just no establishing the villains, and the villains have to be villainous. Just saying spice, is just a reference. It's not. It leaves it up to us to totally imagine why this is
right. We've seen nothing about what spice does to the to the citizenry of the planet. I mean, we can form our own conclusions based on real life situations with drugs and
like
the drug
or something.
The drug cartels and all that kind of stuff and what it does to people, but they're not showing us that. You can't tell a story successfully if you're just gonna. Well, they'll know what we're talking about. They'll know what we're talking about because of real life application.
Well, like if he goes and kicks the ass of the Pikes right now, we have no reason to cheer except for Boba Fett. It's like, hey, Boba Fett's still alive.
No, he's kicking butt. Yeah,
but there's no villain. When this episode, that was another great scene, and this is possibly one of the best scenes in the show, is when the indentured servant, number one or whatever, numero uno. Let's use different languages even to create more inclusive.
I refuse to change my language for this. The slave one, yes.
The indentured servant uno. Come on, get with it.
Yeah, I know, right? Get with the woke mob. Join the woke mob, everybody.
Well, your eyes are open. You're not asleep.
That's right. Thing. I'm all woke up. I'm all woke up now.
And sweeps down in just a cutscene that lasts like 20 seconds, and they just freaking World War II blitzkrieg the caravan of Niktos, who again, like every sci-fi movie ever made, can't figure out that the way to get out of danger is to go to one side or the other.
Just try to outrun it.
Just run a straight line. It'll be fine. You can outrun it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't dodge on your little nimble speeder bikes. Just stick together in a group or a big target.
Yeah, don't zigzag. Don't go to the side.
For God's sake, don't look back and figure out what's going on. And but it was fantastic. The sound effects. You finally get somebody strafing somebody in Star Wars.
Yeah,
which is freaking cool. It's something I've always wanted to see. I mean, we had it in Rogue One a little bit, but people naturally just lived for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
The plot armor came down.
The plot armor, yep. Exactly.
The father figure just, oh, I was right on the edge. Oh, you were right on the edge. That was okay. We missed the shuttle. This went right around the shuttle, the massive shuttle. But anyway, That was a great scene.
Mhm.
And
Definitely.
again, why have that in there though? We have the whole series being set up on a premise of we execute Bib Fortuna mercilessly.
Yeah.
Then we step way back to
Way
where
back from that.
we
Yeah.
don't even see the blaster rifle in action anymore. He, we did get the cool nod in the mayor's office when he brought it up real fast, and it was reminiscent of Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
But that thing might as well, it might as well be the nose to hold his glasses up or whatever. I mean, it's just not. He's not
Yeah.
using it. We don't expect him to use it anymore.
Right.
But then we have this scene where he comes in and just slaughters these dudes. And again, I'm also thinking he's going to save the boss to find out if they actually did it.
Mhm.
Because
But no.
because there could be more vengeance. But
Yeah.
no, it's just mow them down and move on, which is fine. That's one way to go. But how does this scene and the scene with Bib Fortuna fit with everything else we're seeing? I'm confused.
Right. It's incongruous with everything else, because we're getting these flashes, very minimal flashes of him just being ruthless and taking people out who are in his way. That's absolutely ruthless.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, we get this character that is almost unrecognizable from that.
Right.
That just talks about everything, doesn't use aggression, even shows, he even is like, hey, that was a little harsh to say you're gonna
Yeah.
threaten bodily harm. That was a little hard.
Yeah, I wanted to throw back at him, Nikto gang.
Yeah, Nikto gang. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Was that going easy on?
Yeah, exactly.
What was
That wasn't harsh. So yeah, you make a valid point. It's like, which Boba Fett is he? Is he this vengeance guy, who's just going to take it out on everybody, including the Sarlacc, or is he the guy who's just going to kind of bumble his way through talking to, mod kids,
And I do want to point out this biker gang, as far as we know, we never directly ever saw them kill anyone.
Mm-mm.
That we knew for sure anyone was
Nothing.
dead. They could have killed people in that settlement when
we have no
we
idea.
first saw them. We have
Yeah.
no idea. It wasn't shown. They just kind of beat the guy up and left him there. He could have died. Beating can
Mhm.
kill you. They're brutes. They're it's kind of a Hell's Angels thing, but we don't know shit about them. We saw their their graffiti tag at the
Right.
slaughter. That doesn't mean they're guilty.
No.
So why in this show? What's the morality or whatever the point of view we're supposed to be grasping when we let the major domo walk? We negotiate with all these people and stuff, and we're not really ruthless. But then certain aliens and certain groups, it's okay to just massacre with wild abandon. And I'm just having a hard time grasping it because it needs to make sense, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to use brute force and devalue life, it seems like you're going to do that more than what he's doing.
Sure.
If that's your fallback position, your life is up to me. I can take your life at any time. Well, people need to know that.
Yeah.
You're going to slaughter people out in the desert like a criminal and hide it. No, I think when you're a gangster, you're letting everybody know. Just like
you send a message. You have to send a message.
it's
saying, I'm the
sending a
boss,
message.
and this is what's going to happen to you if you don't do what I say.
Right. They never
No.
came. They went out in the desert and they never came back.
Right.
Where's the message?
Yeah.
So and also, why are you willing to do that? Why are Nikto bikers, according to the producers of Boba Fett, okay to kill, just like dark troopers are okay to slaughter?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
they're not going to show us a stormtrooper and Luke Skywalker squeezing the life out of him and crushing him with his own armor using the Force.
Right.
And have, blood and guts shootout.
Sure.
Luke would never do that. They're not going to do that. So it's
Yeah.
safe to do to a freaking robot. But is it? Because two of our protagonists in Star Wars that are
robots.
characters are
They're
droids.
droids. Yeah.
K2SO
Yeah.
was an Imperial droid. So I want these dark edges, and I want to see action. I'm a big fan of Hong Kong action and violence.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit here and nitpick because I don't really, there's no moral quandary for me, but I
Yeah.
need to understand my characters that I'm looking at. Like, anyway, let's move on from this unless you have anything else to say about it. I think we're both in agreement that we're confused
Right.
about
Yeah,
this depiction.
We
of
just
Boba
haven't
Fett's
seen where they're going with him and why he is doing the things he's doing, and why there's this sort of
There's inconsistency.
this inconsistency between his character.
It
So yeah,
almost
let's.
seems like it's plot driven
Mhm.
and scene driven, and what they want in the
Yeah.
moment rather than character driven.
Right. Well, this would be a cool scene. Let's put this in here.
Mhm,
Yeah, something like
We
that.
have Boba and
basically.
Fennec standing next to each other. The situation's in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
One, how can we work in a joke to show the relationship? Two,
Right.
how can we show a little tension between them? And how can we give Finnick something to do?
Yeah.
You know, and that seems to be more the story than our protagonist. We need to have our protagonist solid as hell. You know, I need to know this guy.
Absolutely.
Or know nothing about him. You know, Boba Fett was Nick, and that's why he worked.
Right.
But we're going so far away from that now we need to understand him a bit.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
moving on.
So instead, in lieu of doing a scene by scene breakdown, you know, I was going to kind of hit some high points, some things that that stood out to me, scenes that I enjoyed. Like I did like the whole scenario that we got of him getting the slave one back. I mean, parts of it were a little weak, running around chasing the droids and stuff like that was a little too much. But overall, I didn't have a problem with any of that stuff. I really liked.
That was the Lego Star Wars scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what that was.
And then, but I really enjoyed the little sort of sensor that Finnick sent into the thing that mapped out the entire inside of the of Jabba's palace. I thought that was a really cool scene. That was really, I just love the technology in that. I thought that was really interesting, how that worked out. And then of course we go in, you know, they infiltrate through the back door, basically. They're almost like a sewer entrance almost. They get in there. And then I think overall the scene worked because, you know, we did have a pretty cool shootout, you know, in the actual hangar bay itself when Boba's inside the ship and trying to, you know, get it up because he was trying to actually turn it so that he could get the guns out, but the guns are pinned against the wall and wouldn't actually come down to strafe, you know, the enemies. So basically it kind of left Finnick high and dry out on the ramp by herself trying to figure it out, which of course she did. Who solves the problems? Finnick does. But overall, I enjoyed that scene. I like
that though. She's good and she knows she's good.
Right.
And she's not a hero. When she says, go on, I'll take care of this, she's not offering to like pull a thing in Solo where, you know, the chick blew herself up because, you know, to help out or whatever.
Right. She's not sacrificing herself for the others.
She just knows she can handle it. She's like, just get out of my hair. Let me
just get out of my face and I'll take care of it.
Do whatever you can do.
Do whatever you got to do.
And I'll do what I can do. And it'll work out. I dig that about her. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed that whole scene. I thought that was really cool. And then probably, I know you said your favorite scene in the episode was probably the strafing of the Niktos. For me, it was the whole scene inside of, I think it's called the Sanctuary. The bar where Max Rebo now plays, and you know the whole scene inside there with Black Chrysanthemum, and he's watching the Trandoshans, and of course, you know, those of you who know Star Wars lore beyond just the films, Wookiees and Trandoshans are mortal enemies. They absolutely hate the races hate each other. They even had like several Clone Wars episodes dedicated to that. You know, Trandoshans would actually capture Wookiees and put them on this planet and hunt them for sport. All right, so we've got Black Chrysanthemum in the Sanctuary, the bar, and he's watching a group of these Trandoshans, and they're just having a great time. He's angry, you know. He just, like I said, he just got cut loose by the Hutts. He doesn't have a job anymore. You know, Boba Fett let him live. That's a plus, but he's got nothing to do at this point. So
he's been embarrassed.
And exactly.
When you're like,
because he's failed in his job.
And he hasn't got the next thing lined up yet. He doesn't know what to do with himself. And so that anger just comes out on a convenient time.
And what we learn in the scene later is that, this guy used to be pretty much the Star Wars galaxy equivalent of a celebrity, you know, and now his time has come and gone, basically. So what happens is he's sitting there throwing back some sort of drink, and watching these Trandoshans play, you know, I don't know what it was, Sabak or whatever kind of game they're playing there, and they're winning and they're just having the time of their life, and they're laughing and joking, slapping each other on the back, having a great time. Finally, he loses it. He goes over and just starts throwing down, just starts kicking all their butts. There's like 4 of them. And
it's Trandoshan toss, basically.
It's pretty much. How far can you throw a Trandoshan?
The last toss.
So finally, close to the end of this dust up, you know, the last Trandoshan standing basically tries to break a bottle over his head. And
I missed that. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, that's kind of what started the last little section that happens here, because you see Yeah, you see his face, like, and you just see this bottle shatter off the back of his head, and he doesn't even flinch, and he just turns, and then you see that Trandoshan's kind of like, my bad, and that's the one he picks up, and he's basically just holding him like this. That's when Jennifer Beals character comes in. And
so we're like in the Star Wars version of Roadhouse at this point.
Pretty much.
And so Sam Elliott needs to come in and break somebody's kneecap.
So she's obviously worried because her whole place is getting torn to pieces here. This is not good for business. She's trying to calm him down. And she basically, this is when we learn about how this guy used to be a celebrity. He used to be basically a famous gladiator, and he used to fight in the pits. And, she was telling me, yes, it was so great. How, people used to come by the thousands to watch you, fight people and tear people apart, and they cheered you on, and that was amazing. But those times have gone. She's trying to kind of calms him down, tries to talk. You
don't have anything to prove, is what she says.
Exactly, you got nothing to prove. We're all in awe of you.
Honor your legacy by paying your car tab if you calm down and.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of
a little less Wookiee.
The final thing she does is she basically just says, you know what, if you let him go and you stop this now, I'll just, you've run up quite a tab. It's on the house. You basically just get it. And then there's, of course, there's that pregnant pause where we don't know what he's going to do. And we finally, for the first time on film, get a Wookiee rips an arm off.
Right.
Of another. They don't show it. They don't.
That type of show.
It's implied. Yeah. Because you hear it and then you see the Trandoshan fall with one arm, and then the arm falls kind of in front of the frame. So we finally got that. And then he just storms out.
For not doing the just automatic reference shot to New Hope. With the arm on the ground and the blood.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
thought it'd be framed the exact same way and everything, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
But when we do get a reference with the Wookiee hands the bar owner some credits to pay for his tab, but also if you could speak Wookiee, he's also saying, "Here's extra for the mess."
Right? Yeah, for the mess. So he basically pulled a solo.
Yeah, and what was cool too was again we get this thing of Boba Fett watching, and he the Boba Fett we've been seeing in this show should have interfered.
Right.
Like, hey, calm down. He should have been the one telling him.
He should have been one telling that and not the other.
Instead, we get a little more of a badass Fett where he's just like, I'm not involved in this, and I'm going to let them settle it amongst themselves. And he even says, hey, it was worth a shot to her.
Well, it was more like a Jabba's palace Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi, where you're just kind of sitting in the shadows, kind of taking it all in.
Yeah, and he was like, I'm above this a little bit, and I'm not that concerned about people getting hurt,
right?
Which is cool. And it also reminded us that Tatooine is a rough place. We knew this in A New Hope. They established it so well with just a few shots of the patrons going back to business as soon as the floor is cleaned up or whatever,
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of that attitude here where they go, okay, it's just a cleanup now. And also, is it true, do Trandoshans grow their limbs back?
I don't know, but I think it is, that is the case, yes.
Okay.
I believe they referenced that in the Clone Wars, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so it's convenient. They picked a race that the Wookiee would dislike and one that they could rip the limbs off in it.
And it'll grow back.
If upset about it, they can say, calm down. We've already established that's not fatal to a Trandoshan. Yeah, it's more of an inconvenience.
Right. And my favorite part, I guess, about that scene, which I believe it was intended to be funny. I just loved the look on the Trandoshan's face. I just thought it was hilarious. The way his eyes, those big lizard eyes, just kind of looking around like, what's about to happen? That was really funny. I really enjoyed that.
No, I thought they have done a really good job with a lot of the aliens stuff. And I was looking for that. I was like, is this going to look cheesy? I was kind of looking when I was watching, and I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love to see. I know a lot of those are practical effects, but then they have parts of the mask that they animate over. It seems like, or add CGI to them, like the lizard woman and stuff like that. Like a lot of that's practical, but they also add CGI.
Put CGI on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to know how much of that is in the scene that you're seeing. It looked like the eyes were had too much motion and expression to them to be practical. And so I'm assuming.
So let me get your take on an earlier scene. So we finally get the connection between Mandalorian and Boba Fett, the scene that ended one of the episodes in season 1 of Mandalorian, where Fennec the only episode Finnick was in season 1 where she gets gunned down at point blank range. We're assuming she's left for dead, but then and at the very last scene we see someone walking up to her supposedly lifeless body. Well, now we get that scene in Boba Fett, and then we get the story from there about how he finds her and how he ends up rescuing her. Correct. So we get another group of these mods, which it looks like kind of cyberpunk. So basically, this is one of the guys, and I think I drew the parallel. This to me seems like this whole modification stuff. It's kind of like the Star Wars version of like tattoos and piercings back before they were like everybody had them. Back when it's considered taboo to get a tattoo and a piercing and all that. So that
criminals were known for tattoos. But
sure,
people started doing
and like people in bike gangs and stuff like that. Yeah.
So droids are considered dirty and servants, and these people actually start adopting droid parts into their bodies.
Right. So this is how basically Finnick gets saved. The guy that he pays to do this, the guy who runs this parlor or whatever, comes over, and he's the one that puts the sort of workings into her guts, basically, that we saw in season 2 of Mandalorian, when Boba shows up to get his armor back from Din, and Din says, "Hey," he looks at Finnick, "I thought you were dead," and then she basically just lifts up her shirt to the point to where you can see the inner workings going on there that was mechanical. Now we see the story of how that came to be. So what was your take overall on that scene? I mean, how are you feeling about this whole mod character style and all that? How do you feel about that?
It doesn't connect with me. But we have Lobot and characters like that. They've never come out and established what the status of droids in the Star Wars galaxy is that I know of, not on film. I'm sure there's tons of canon materials that talk about the droids. The closest we came was in Solo, where the droid was angry about how they're treated and was trying to talk to the other droids to encourage them to stand up.
So like a revolution and all that,
But since we were kids and we saw the first one, I assumed there's a dark side to that we don't serve their kind in here. That's pretty specific language. Their kind. Their kind. That they're looked down upon, especially in certain sectors, and by people maybe that can't afford them. Maybe they're like a posh accessory considered, or they're slaves or working class or the indentured servant. I don't know. But it's a murky area because they've been shown to have personalities. They can actually think for themselves. They can do all kinds of stuff. And so, you've got R2, you've got 3PO, you've got all these mouse droid. So they can come in all shapes and sizes. But when you take a thinking person and you just start putting the parts on them, then you're into cyborg territory, which there's been a long history of those in Star Wars as well, in the extra medium. But it reminds me of stuff from the 80s, really, cyberpunk.
Right.
I forget the name of the video game and books. It was Shadow Realms or Shadow something.
I don't
do with magic and cyberpunk mixed together. And then there's William Gibson, who's a great author. This one struck me just fine. I had no problem with the mods in this episode, and seeing them have their own hangout. We just encountered them in the street before. We just knew nothing about them. I mean, like seeing them have their own hangout, and they kind of had droid parts on the wall. I was trying to look at the different things they had decorating inside there, and it just seems like a kind of underground, its own thing community. Everybody kind of looked at Boba Fett when he came in, and the guy even said, "Aren't you too old to come in here?"
Right.
So they're establishing, I think, that this is definitely something the older generation on Tatooine looks down upon, and the younger one just doesn't give a crap. And I thought it would have been really awesome, although they're probably too old at this point. And I'm sick of their inside references, but it would have been cool if like Deke or Wendy had been in there. And they may have been, for all we know. But,
exactly.
But I've always wanted to see those characters kind of recur again at some point, know what happened, find out what happened to them.
Right.
To know everything, but still, it would have been cool.
And I don't mind it when they do it like they did with Cammy and Fixer. You know,
Right.
they didn't even say their name. They were like one episode and done. You know,
Yeah.
and they're just in one scene and that's it. It was just kind of like a little throw bone to the old school fans, and that was cool.
Yeah, it's fan service, but it's harmless. You know,
but it's harmless.
It really doesn't affect anything.
They don't make a big deal. They don't like point finger like, look who it is. It's Canny and Fixer, ladies and gentlemen. You know.
Now I would appreciate if they did it slightly differently, and they didn't have them wearing the same exact clothes, the same exact hairstyles that they had
5 years ago,
12 years earlier, whatever it was.
Well, no, it's 5 years.
Well, wouldn't it be 8?
Oh, no. You're right. Because it was during A New Hope. Yeah. So it'd be about
Fixer,
8 years ago.
Fixers hasn't bought a new outfit in 8 years. You know?
Yeah, you're right. 8-9 years ago. Yeah.
He just rinses it off in the sink and hangs it up in the double sun, puts it back. It'd be really faded. But you know, that's the only thing. I want these characters to not just exist as a callback. I want them to actually exist. And so they should look different. And you should just be able to figure out without it having to be for every idiot in the world. Oh, let's give me a Fixer.
Right. But that does run into the problem of being unrecognizable, you know.
No, there's ways to. I mean,
there's ways to do it, but I just think as far as the general audience won't pick up on it unless you have it look very similar. So
yeah. But anyway, getting past that, what were we talking about?
About the whole the culture of the mods. Yeah.
I don't connect so great with the mods, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's colorful. It's got we have precedent for it. My thing with this show is we're not getting memorable characters. Okay. The doctor guy was all right. He did his part just fine, but I did not want to revisit him after seeing him. You know, nothing compelled me. There's just a way to bring characters in and stuff to where they're just compelling, and I think there's been a lot of misses on that. Black Crescenton is a everybody wants to know about him because he's instantly badass. You know? Almost the worst thing they could do is explain more about him because he's a great character design. But guys like the Watermonger, great actor, but they did nothing with him, and they telegraphed everything. So I don't care if I see him again. Although obviously he's over there. We're going to see him again. But they're just not doing a great job, other than the Tuscans, which they gave us lots of time to warm up to. Even the bar. I was going to bring this up with the barkeep. She's like Miss Kitty in Gunsmoke or whatever.
Yeah. That's
I was expecting a Marshall Dillon Miss Kitty relationship here or something. And they just passingly even acknowledge each other. You know, your gunslinger needs a confidant of some kind, or we need to know he's human if he's going to be human, and they're making him human. Yeah, they are. You know, and we've already shown a lot of people didn't like it. We've shown that he hung out with the dancing girls.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's things like that. There's character designs that look cool, and I wouldn't mind knowing more about these characters. But they're not bringing them in like the mod girl. If you're going to focus on her and give her the close-ups and stuff, there's a way to bring her in where you can relate to her and start to figure things out about her and want to know the next little thing about her.
Yeah.
Right now, I just don't care. You know, I mean, I kind of want to see if she's going to pull out other stuff in a fight, maybe. But they didn't show us anything to begin with. That you know, like they didn't show us, you know, taking her stuff and leaving her house with her parents yelling at her. You know what I mean? I mean, just something, any
little tidbit.
Show us something about her. They didn't show her talking with their underlings. Like, how do they relate to her? How does she relate to them? What's their position to each other? All we know is one guy has a foot that shoots a staple gun, and you know, and probably one makes toast with his shoulder. Or something.
Yeah, and the other one has like a wrist, you know, flame.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just kind of all right.
Yeah.
So, but no, the mods overall, I liked them better in this one. They didn't run their scooters all over the place, and I liked some of the designs. I thought were pretty cool. And you know, a lot of times kids getting into something they think is cool aren't as cool as they think they are.
Right.
So I kind of get that vibe that one guy with the glasses who was trying with the eyes.
The one sitting outside. Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like in 5 years he's gonna regret this.
He's really gonna regret that. Yeah.
He's gonna look at pictures. It's like, holy, that was me.
That was me. How you did that.
I never looked cool. I was so proud of myself when I had it done.
Exactly.
And now I look and I realize
I was the biggest loser. Yeah.
Yeah. There I was. I had to do this all the time. It's like, you think that would self-adjust, you know? That'd be the benefit, you know, like, regular eyes do that,
exactly.
right? But the mechanical eyes, you have to
You have to adjust yourself.
They're like my Bose, noise canceling earbuds.
Mhm.
Like, noise canceling, not noise canceling, volume. Stop it!
Just stop it.
It's like, just you have to touch it all over. But
Yeah, honestly, for me, the mods, I'm not a big fan. Like you, I didn't have a problem with them in this episode as much, but I don't relate to it. It kind of takes me out of the story a little bit because to me, it looks like they're trying too hard to make something different, I guess. And something like this, for me, within the culture of Tatooine, from the way I've perceived it, I feel like this whole mod culture and this whole thing
doesn't fit.
It would, if you put it in the bowels of Coruscant, perfect.
Yeah.
You could see that all over the place, but I just don't see it on Tatooine.
Planet. Yeah, on Tatooine, it's water.
Right.
What can you do with droid parts that's going to earn you water?
Exactly. Nothing.
Or booze, or smuggling, or whatever. I guess smuggling, maybe you might be good, but you're so obvious. If you're tagged as a smuggler, it's like, it's the guy with the mechanical eyes.
The guy with the mods. Yeah, exactly.
Look at Stapler foot over there. I think he's a pirate.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Stapler
foot. The other thing I was going to say, if you're going to be a part droid, why not have one of those data ports like R2 has? That is the most useful friggin' thing they've
absolutely
ever had.
Yeah.
You could have a computer like Lobot attached to your head or whatever,
right?
And one of those,
and then actually have that. You can hack anything
into doors, safes, plans.
Yep.
You'd
Computer,
be the most useful person, but you would also be annoying because you'd be a person instead of a droid, and people already have droids doing that. So. But anyway, I just wonder if it's a fashion thing, or if they're trying to be useful. Why not have the ports and the be able to hack? And it's kind of like they're blending. They're saying like we got to go back to the 70s and 80s because Star Wars itself by this timeline hasn't advanced beyond that. So it's almost like if you were a droid guy, you'd be bringing up the old graphics of the Death Star run, We need to navigate. Look, guys, we need to go in the bank and go down this hallway. Take a left.
Exactly.
It's like
there's where the vault is.
Like, oh my God, you're so advanced with the ColecoVision in your brain.
ColecoVision in your brain.
It's like, and I have a Mario Brothers 1 on here too. The original Castlevania. Look. So it's almost like they're stuck where they're like, I appreciate that they're not making suddenly guys on Tatooine look like 2022. Where they just have these super advanced. They're kind of, they look rough, but I don't know what to think about it. It's just not landing with me. But
same with me. Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not condemning it. It's just not necessarily for me. Yeah, it's basically what sums it up.
See, if we had a scene like Boba Fett walked up, and I don't think he had his helmet on there, he should have done something to fog that guy's eyes up.
Yeah, that'd have been great.
He needs to do cool things to show he's better than like these people going. We have the technology and examine him. He should have just gone over and blown on his face or something. Yeah, to where the guy can't see.
Something simple. Exactly. Like wait, what? I can't see anything.
Just walks right past him.
I
mean, you know what I mean. He that's my main problem with any of this. Boba Fett can have Muppets with him. He can have Ewoks. It doesn't matter if he's badass and cool. If he or just consistent. And I like his character.
Right,
because,
exactly.
To be honest, at the end of episode 2, I was on board. I was like, whatever they're going with this after the Tusken dance, I'm feeling this character now.
Yeah.
I just liked the guy. I liked Boba Fett. I didn't, Boba Fett's armor was the cool thing.
Sure.
I never really worried about him. I didn't really want to know that much about him. But I liked the dude in episode 2, the person that we were seeing. And they haven't really gone back to that person.
Yeah.
I mean, he was showing some fierceness there. There was joy. I felt like the character was happy. It was showing some happiness for the first time. And that's something that if you asked you beforehand, like, you want to see a series where Boba Fett finds happiness? No. Not at all.
Not really.
No, never. What? Cancel this now.
Right.
But that moment was bigger than the show for me. It did something that I don't even know if they intended to do. They showed the guy happy as hell, and it wasn't because he, had a kid or something softening in dad. He had survived, he had found a place. They decked him out in badass black, clothes,
robes,
and forged a weapon that shows his connection to the fucking planet, and his power. And they came back and they just instantly started feeling this warrior vibe together. And everybody started it, looking at each other. They just started mirroring it from their training and stuff. I don't know if this is a traditional dance to them or not, and the others just got all sucked in. It's like it created this vortex where you see the leader like looking around like he's kind of like not that person. He's the last one to get up and get involved in this dance. And the whole thing was so symbolic and cool. And Boba Fett was just celebrating it. He was just like in the moment having fun.
In the moment, exactly.
I don't see Star Wars characters ever doing that.
It's very, very rare. Yeah, it's very rare. And that was phenomenal. And then unfortunately, the next episode we took several steps back with the character.
Everything was undone, it seemed like.
Yeah, it was just all undone.
And
yeah.
I don't know. I hate
it was basically it was immediately the beginning of Alien 3,
Right. The plan was to put them in us and Newt while we slept.
Anyway,
you must crack open Fennec Shan's ribs. I must see.
I must see inside.
There's an alien inside. Okay, well, we're going to go into detail now. but last episode it was fine. But that's the kind of thing. It's like, I wish this show was able to connect in the best moments to where I felt like this was going somewhere and consistent. And the Fett character is just all over the place, and it's hard to support characters that are dumb. I have a hard time with that. I'm not smart or clever, but I can see and recognize dumb people in front of me, and just the dumb things they're doing. Right. It's kind of like a horror movie. In a horror movie, it works because you go, don't go in the basement.
Don't go in there. Don't go down, hide in the basement.
And they do it anyway, and you're like, and you're frustrated, but it's also kind of compelling. This is not compelling. It's like, I don't want to see him continue to screw up. I want to see him, and we're 4 episodes in now. It's good we still got 3 more. But they've almost established, like, I have this belief that when they show you something, that's what it is. Yeah. I'm sure I know the story's going somewhere. But I feel like they're establishing this character as Dad Fett. And Dad Fett will always be with us now. Yeah. And there's always going to be a goofy joke. There's always going to be him kind of making a misstep and his underlings correcting it for him. He's always going to come out in his bathrobe, like, what's going on in here, kids, Yeah. And but there's flashes, when he threw the guy through the plate glass window or whatever, and when he beat the Niktos down and broke the rifle. Stuff like that's cool when he mowed him down.
Absolutely.
But I want to know why. Like, why does he hate certain people more than others? Why does he just go right to the extreme with certain people, and he gives other people every chance in the world? Yeah. And they haven't. Okay, let's move on to, if you're okay with it, let's move on to something else here. Yeah. This scene, this show, it started with the flashback, right? And we got the whole Fennec Shan backstory. Let's talk about Fennec Shan real quick, if we can. I know we're not doing it real quick here, but what did you think of her, where they saved her and her kind of indentured servitude one? I
think that shed a little bit of light onto her character, that she really doesn't have any bigger plans at this point. She's, because she chose willingly to stay with Boba Fett, even though she did at one point say, when he offered around the little bonfire they were having, that night, he's like, hey, I'm going to put together the syndicate, I'm going to start this family, and I could use somebody like you. And she's like, nah, I'm kind of more of an independent contractor, but I'll work with you, and then, she ends up saying, I'll go along for the ride. And, slowly but surely she's deciding to kind of tag along here, as it were. So that to me tells me that she really doesn't have, she is the classic, bounty hunter. She just goes from job to job whenever somebody hires her. And you literally, you make money and then you have to live on that till you get your next job, basically. And I'm thinking that with Boba Fett, that's got to be her drive here, is that she's like, well, if he knows what he's doing, then I can probably eat, when I'm with him, I can work with him and I can get my next meal. So that, I think beyond that, we're not really getting much motivation from her.
Yeah, and I think I told you this right after I watched the episode, or we watched the episode, is I would have liked to have seen, they're going for a very, very stoic character with kind of a snarky sense of humor,
Yeah.
It was all action and sarcastic, and they're keeping everything else very, very close to the vest. And I would have liked to have seen in the scene where she was operated on. And I know this. Let's face it, this is kind of a kid show. I don't know. It's right in the middle somewhere, but because they have some violence and stuff in there, but they seem to be under the constraints of a kid show. But she's being operated on without anesthesia, as far as we know, and stuff. And she's out, almost dead, or she is dead. But I would have liked to have seen some struggle from her, because they purposely showed shots of her unconscious, just like to reassure us she's not feeling pain. Well,
right.
I didn't find that reassuring. I want to know that it cost the character something there, because when she came to, she said, "What did you do to me?" And that's the last we hear of it.
Yeah.
How does she feel about that? Is that just normal in Star Wars, that if you like General Grievous, you become General Grievous? Are you okay
just become part droid? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of characters lose arms and get a limb.
And they get prosthetics. Yeah. Luke. Yeah.
It's never
Vader.
really
Yeah. You name it. Yeah.
And for once, I would like to see something. It would have given more info on me about her character. Right now, she just seems to be willing to accept anything, and she's such a survivor. She just adapts instantly.
Yeah.
And goes on. I mean, she doesn't even know if she needs to change her batteries or what, there's no indication or rules about how this works for us to deal with later.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen her in some pain or struggling or something to know that this character is not just an invincible cartoon,
Right.
And that's just my thing. But I thought of that when I was watching it. And also, like, is this something she's grateful for, or does she almost resent it? That's another thing we don't really know. We have to assume she's grateful.
I mean, we have to assume she's grateful, but at the same time, does this sort of independent side of her feel like, oh, now I owe you? And she resents that. Or
is she tagging along, but waiting for some payback? I mean, nothing there shows us that, but we know nothing about her. And she could be like a cobra or an alligator or whatever, just an ambush predator, just like waiting for her chance.
Yeah.
And she has no real ethics or morals that we can see, except what's implied. She never comes out and says, "Well, I would kill you right now, but my code forbids it," or anything. We don't know.
Nothing. We didn't
get
any
I'm
of
now
that.
In your service. She said it in Mandalorian, like, now I serve him. For me, that was Boba Fett. She said about the taking mercy on the wretched, and she said, "Now I serve him." So that's all we have to go on. But I also wonder, like, is at some point, if this was a different type of show, at some point when he was at his most vulnerable, once they'd achieved everything, would she say, "And this is for turning me into a half droid," and turn on him and take his place? If this was really about gangsters and stuff, I wouldn't put it past her at all.
No, absolutely.
And, but insofar, the relationship is solid, but I don't see them, like, he doesn't seem to accomplish, he saved her, but he doesn't seem to be accomplishing anything for her. Like, I don't know what she wants out of this. The best relationships, even when they're opposing, like two people that hate each other, if you chain them together and say escape, you have a story. You know what I mean? Or if they have to work together for some goal they both want. So anyway, that's my thing with her is I would like a little more backstory, but I know it's the Book of Boba Fett and she's just fulfilling a function, but I was hoping for a little more from her and from the bartender character.
Right.
So anyway, it was, I thought overall, though, it was a cool scene. It was different than I expected, and there's nothing wrong with our expectations, having a different thing. And I have no problem with the mods in that scenario. I don't like their name being such a pun and a dad joke, but it's making me realize more and more that this show is being written by someone my age who would think that was funny. Who else would even be worried about mods?
Right.
Anyway, the next scene I wanted to address real quick was the fireside scene, which I think was kind of a pivotal scene for this whole show. And it told me, all of a sudden I felt clued in to some things. And I have a feeling this show, like, if they re-edited it and told the story from a different time frame and took it from a perspective of, we're going to establish some things and then branch out from there, I feel like that scene should have come first, possibly, or earlier in the show. because we've been scratching our heads like, what is going on with Boba Fett?
Yeah.
Why is he doing these things?
Right.
And suddenly in episode 4, more than halfway through the show, instead of, I feel like we were sold a bill of goods. I said when we started the show, I said, every show establishes something as its theme. You know, if you pay attention, you see what's going on and what they're going to address with the rest of the episodes. And at least, you know, the first story arc was, do we use fear or do we use respect?
Right.
That was the first statement that we got. But now I feel like that was a bill of goods, and that was never really what was on the table, because the mission statement was given to us in episode 4, which is, you are now weak. No, I'm strong. There's only so far you can get without a tribe.
Right.
That is the mission statement of the show that I've seen to this point. It isn't about fear or respect, really, although those are conditional to what's happened. That is a natural result. But the mission statement that we've been exploring this whole time with this show is, a tribe makes you stronger, and you need to have one to survive.
Right.
And that sheds all kinds of light on what he's trying to do. That he's
trying to build a new tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. At least we can grasp that. This is what he's learning. This is what he's learned from it. And I feel like if I had that from the beginning, I would have understood a whole lot more of where he was coming from. And I almost feel like telling the story out of sequence has backfired a little bit on this for me.
Right. Right. If
but
they
I
had
was
told it
glad
more
to
in a
see it.
chronological order, then it might have made more sense. Yeah.
But I was glad to see it. And I felt like it clued me into what we're finally doing with this. I'm going to get on board with it. I'm not going to nitpick it, but I will say this. I don't like it. It wouldn't be my choice. I would not take Boba Fett, a loner, you know, a mystery man, a gunman,
and use that character to teach about family. Yeah.
And the reason I wouldn't do it is pretty simple. Because the Mandalorian is what? A loner, a gunslinger, a bounty hunter. What happened to him? He
got a baby.
He needed connections. Yeah, he became dad bounty hunter.
Dad Mando.
Now we have another loner, another gunslinger, another badass. And he learns the lesson that he needs a tribe. He's dad fed. It's repetitive. You know, we have this already. I feel like we were promised a new Star Wars universe about bounty hunters and the underground criminal syndicates. And we've got family shows both times. We've got the difficulty of being dad in the Star Wars, a single dad in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
But saying I don't like it's a little strong, because I really like the Tusken story. I understand where he's coming from. I understand any character would learn that in that situation. So I'm on board with that. But what's done is done. You know, I'm gonna get on board. I'm gonna see how this plays out. But he needs to be smarter, and he needs to be still angry and violent.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah,
that's what attracted us to the character in the beginning. Yeah,
he is not yet Marlon Brando. You know,
right?
He even said, "I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse" in this episode.
And
yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, and you know, Tamara Morrison works in that role pretty much. You know, he's fine with that. But that's not, the character is not, to me, is not there yet. I love seeing when he taps into that rage, and when he's a savage. You know, and that is part of being a gangster. These, you know, when the Rancor came up, when they were all talking, that's pretty gangster. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, he literally just made all of them just crap their pants, pretty much. You know.
Yeah, and, you know, and of course, I don't think his Rancor is going to eat people, because that's too harsh for
I agree
Disney.
for this show.
I would have had one of the guys come into the meeting planning to betray him, and I would have had the Rancor, you know. Yeah. And show this is bit, you know, you turn on me.
This is what
even
happens.
Though we don't have a deal. Yeah. You're going in the Rancor. You know, the Rancormatic has got you.
The Rancormatic.
or like one of the guys had a servant who was a double agent, worked for the Black Wind or whatever that was, and was tried to kill him, and they just chalk him down to and show everybody what happens.
Exactly.
You know, but it's Disney, and they're just not going to do it.
They're not going to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be an action figure with rideable with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do you think about that? The campfire scene and everything. I loved the scene. Don't get me wrong, but it solidified for me that this is where we're at. What we're seeing is what we're getting. It is that Fett. It is. It's over.
It's exactly what it is.
This is all we're gonna get is at the end the family shot. You know, instead of them alone on the throne, we're going to get the whole family portrait of the Waltons.
Right, we're going to get a family portrait, exactly.
Right.
You know, which is to me is interesting because I mean, I agree with, to answer your question, I do agree with what you said there. I like the scene. I think it should have come earlier in the series because it did establish certain kind of directional, you know, the direction that we're going different than what we probably thought it was.
Yes.
You know,
like The Mandalorian.
it's funny because in The Mandalorian, even though, yeah, we basically got the you know, the single, you know, the struggles of a single dad in the Star Wars galaxy, you still had that sort of opposite of Boba Fett from the standpoint that he's not trying to start a group. You know, there were so many times I kept thinking, oh, he's going to slowly but surely, he's going to start adding these characters, Cara Dune and, you know, Grief Karga, and he's going to start adding all these characters in. And by the end of Mandalorian, we're going to have this big group traveling around. And it didn't do that. He just kept, nope, I'm on my own. I'm on my own. So it's almost like Boba Fett, we're expecting that and we're getting the opposite. That's, you know, so I think that the campfire scene was key in, like you said, solidifying kind of our fears about where this was going, and now we know that is the case. That
I will say though, I loved the moment where he contradicted her, where she kind of joked, because he offered her, hey, I'm going to cut you in, you're going to be an equal basically to me. And she said, that's not the world I know. You know, you're soft now. Yeah.
Because at that point, Finnick becomes the audience, you know.
Exactly.
You know, and she's like, you're soft. What's wrong with you? You know, where's the Boba Fett everybody knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. And that would have been cool to establish early on, that the show is self-aware and not just bumbling, making him an idiot. You know, like the watermonger said, I'm embarrassed for you, and I'm like, yeah, we all are.
Yeah, we all are.
We're a little embarrassed for both at this point. But yeah, I loved that moment though, where he's Tamura knocked that out of the park. I thought.
Yeah, he did.
He said, no, I am strong because of that, and you can only get so far. He's telling her wisdom at this point. You can only get so far on your own. I mean, look at where she ended up.
Yeah,
in the desert.
She was dead in the desert. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that was powerful. But when I say I don't like it, I just don't like that we're getting another family show.
No, I know.
I'm sorry, it is.
I agree.
The Rancor's the pet. You know, we asked where's the magic kid. There's a bunch of magic kids.
There's a bunch of magic kids. Yeah, we got a whole bike gang of magic kids.
Yeah, we got a Tusken kid.
We got a Rancor who's a magic kid. So to kind of wrap up, after the scene with the heads of the family, we get Finnick and Boba alone again up on kind of the balcony at the top of Jabba's palace, and this is where we get the music cue that tells us whether it's going to be a cameo or a full-fledged role, who knows, but we're probably going to get Din Djarin very soon. At least by the end of the series, because the basically the back and forth was, they're still talking about, just like the end of last episode, they're talking about preparing for war. Clearly the Pyke Syndicate's here, you know, and, you know, once we got confirmation of last episode, you know, we were going to have to go to war here, but but you can't fight a war without soldiers. And, you know, they have their back and forth. You know, Finnick asked him basically about money. You know, he's like, oh, I've got plenty of credits. You know, the coffers are full. Basically said something to that effect. And she said, well, with money you can buy a lot of loyalty. And then immediately we get the Mandalorian music cue, you know, telling us, and then the sort of backing away shot, you know, the parting shot of them on the balcony, and that was the end of the episode. But so clearly we're going to get Din Djarin in some form coming up either next episode or by the end of the series.
Is that what you think, Din Djarin?
I do.
Would anything like
I think there's going to be. I think it's going to be beyond that. Yeah, I think we're ultimately, whether it's this season or next, we're going to get full on Mandalorians, because keep in mind, Din Djarin possesses the darksaber. And that means he is the rightful leader of Mandalore. He's like the head Thundercat. He's basically the head Thundercat.
Mandalorian's hoe and call him.
So if he says, "Hey, we got to go help my buddy here, Boba Fett," then all the Mandalorians come. Yeah. Right. So we might even get another. We might get another, episode like we did in episode, I think it was three of season 1 of Mando, where we get all the Mandalorians flying around, attacking and stuff. You know, I think we might have another scene along those lines.
You know how I interpreted that? Was I immediately thought of Grief Karga because was hunted down she's a bounty hunter, but she was also hunted down as an assassin. Assassin might be slightly different than bounty hunter. Bounty hunter usually brings people back alive.
Yeah, you just capture somebody and bring them back. Assassins are like, go kill this person. Yeah.
If you're a master assassin, they're not calling you to retrieve someone. They're calling you to kill a hard target.
To take somebody out.
In my opinion, I don't know. I don't know what Star Wars now thinks of that, but my thing was bounty hunter guild is what I thought of. Like with money, you can hire these guys.
No, you're right.
Mandalorians aren't necessarily for hire. They're either following the creed or they're following, like you said, it. But I guess Din Djarin would still be for hire. But I saw his characters kind of moving past that a little bit. But he could have a regression for a temporary time. But I thought they'd bring in Grief Karga. And then from that, they could bring in any bounty character they want in the Star Wars universe. Cad Bane, Bosk, IG-88, or another IG.
Forlom, any of those guys.
Now, the one they've set up to me is Bosk.
Yeah,
because they've shown
all the Trandoshan stuff.
One thing we didn't mention is it looks like Black Chrysanthemum's now working for Boba Fett.
Is now working. Right? Yeah, we skipped that part. But after he left the bar, Boba Fett followed him out in the street and said, "Hey, you look like you could use a job."
Yeah,
and so we're assuming that he's now hired him.
Hires Bosk. You got an awesome conflict there between these two kind of epic.
Yep, Black Chrysanthemum and Bosk
characters. Yeah, but they're working on the same side, and you have a mini story where they could earn each other's respect or whatever.
Sure,
and maybe begin to bridge that divide, or maybe they'll kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
but the conflict is the essence of interest. We're not in this to watch boring stuff.
No, exactly.
And so far, the conflict has been almost existential. Like, let's blow up the Sarlacc. Let's defeat a sandstorm. I don't know what to do. Yeah. We don't even know who the bad guy is.
Exactly.
But that's kind of what I just instantly thought, Grief Karga. But if they do go to far as bring Din Djarin, that would be cool, I guess.
I'd like that.
Action. Yeah, but I still don't know who they're fighting.
No, we don't know
I feel
yet.
like the Pikes need to bring in some allies that we know or something. Maybe they'll hire an Imperial remnant to be their enforcers or something.
Well, I think it's the other way. I think the Pikes are the enforcers for somebody. And I think that's why the Pikes are there. I think that's why the Pikes are there already, because basically whoever's really pulling the puppet strings here are sending their soldiers, which is the Pyke Syndicate, ahead. And then at the end of the season, we'll see who is really pulling the strings here, I think.
Who do you think it is? Do you have any speculation or guess?
I do. I'm not terribly excited about this, but it may be Kira with the remnants of Crimson Dawn.
Okay, is it Kira recast or is it Kira?
I think it's Kira, the actress.
Okay.
Beyond that, we might get into some expanded universe stuff where we get the Shizor, I think is how you pronounce it. Which I forget the race that he's from. The Black Sun, is the syndicate that he runs. Yeah. So from what I understand, I've never really read a lot about their stories, but they're very, very powerful gangster types in the Star Wars universe.
But you're right. We've already established Crimson Dawn, and we showed Darth Maul was part of that for a time.
Right.
Darth Maul's already gone by the time period.
And we're assuming, at least based on the expanded universe comics and novels, stuff like that, Kira did take over Crimson Dawn after Boba Fett, or after Darth Maul died.
She would maybe be like 32 or something at this point. 30?
No, she'd be older than that because Solo took place 10 years before A New Hope, and she was. Well, we're guessing she's early 20s then, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say she's probably early 40s, late 30s, early 40s.
Okay. I guess they can, if Obi-Wan can be Ewan McGregor 1 second and Guinness the next,
the actress whose name is escaping me, she's almost that age anyway.
Is she really?
She's like 39, 40 years old. Yeah.
Seriously? Is she?
Yeah, I know. It's wow, I saw it the other day. Let me
she was like 19 or something when she got cast in that.
No. Let me see. I'm actually.
Weren't her dragons named Perky and Tot though? Maybe that's what fooled me.
Oh, that's funny.
Supple attack.
Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke, right.
Let's see. She's 30. She's 35.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was probably 24, 25 when she started that.
Yep.
23, 24. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. We might as well do something with that character. I know a lot of people didn't like that character.
I didn't have a problem with the character.
I didn't have enough to do, but
yeah, I didn't have a problem.
She's at least been established,
Right.
And if they really wanted to go off the reservation, they could pull in Han and Lando with the Falcon.
They're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something because I think the precedent now has been set with the Luke return in Mandalorian. They're going to have to try and one up that or do something.
Like, where's our Luke scene?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be I really think it's going to be a Han scene.
What was this graph where everything went through the roof? What was that?
That was when Luke Skywalker came back. So we got to bring back Han Solo. Yeah, we got to bring back Han Solo now. Yeah.
Well, who's this Han Solo? Was he in that? Whatever was that? Just do that again.
Yeah. Make that happen again.
Right. Well, he killed some droids. Aren't there more?
Exactly. Exactly.
There's hallways everywhere. Just have them go down another hallway of droids. What's wrong with you? So simple.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with that. Let us know what you think. Like us, subscribe. Yeah. Oh, right. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Gundark gave us a rating of a 7. She definitely liked this episode. What do you think?
I'm going to rate it PG for scenes of smoking, mental distress. The Star Wars gynecology exam. It definitely deserves a PG rating. No, I'm going to give this episode a 6.
Okay,
that's it, a 6. It had elements that could have been higher than that, but I was sticking with a 6.
Yeah, I'm going with a 7 on this episode.
Good choice. Yeah,
definitely liked it. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but I enjoyed the episode very much. So overall, I really liked it. But
I do have one more brief thing to say.
Yeah, sure.
I forgot. I wanted to say this when you were bringing up. You remember when the ball got the map of Jabba's palace and was displaying the graphic for them to look at? Mm-hmm. I was really, as a player of Battlefront 2, Jabba's palace and that whole thing they showed is a map on Battlefront 2. You can actually go down those staircases and everything.
Oh, cool.
And you can fight on the dais. You can fight in the room with the last stand takes place in front of the big door, and the enemies are coming out, or if you're on the other side, you're trying to go out into the planet. But I looked, and it wasn't quite the same map. I would have been really psyched if they had kept it. It looked the same, but it wasn't. It was different.
Nice.
But I still thought that was cool.
That is cool.
As a gaming nerd, that was kind of an interesting thing in there.
Definitely. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Remember, give the like button a high five. Click subscribe. Click the bell notification to get updates when we do. Well, guys got to eat.
Hey, the woman in the money. Hit the subscribe in the money. Use for the money, click for the money.
I'm not going to say it. Bye.
We're demonetized.
Okay, so I have a quiz.
Oh.
What is the name? What is the name of this mystery ship?
Ooh.
What is the name?
What a piece of junk.
No.
The name is the spittle spray. The indentured. I call it the indentured servant. Uno.
Right. Indentured servant Uno.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Also known as the Slave One.
Yes. Well, no.
Henceforth and forever.
Corellian, let the past die.
Oh, I know. Kill it if you must.
Kill it if you have to. Rename it if you have to.
Rename it so that I'm not offended.
That is the SS problematic.